Krishna will forgive you 100 times, but the 101st time could change your destiny forever. One king learned this the hard way, and his story is an urgent warning for you today. It's a story about the small transgressions, the seemingly minor acts of disrespect, the negative words you might speak without thinking. You may believe they disappear into the past, but the universe keeps a perfect record. Divine patience is vast, like an ocean, but it is not infinite. There is a limit, a line that, once crossed, brings an immediate and irreversible consequence. The story of King Shishupala is a chilling illustration of this spiritual law. It serves as a message, a divine warning, sent across millennia directly to you today. It asks you to look at the patterns in your own life, the repeated mistakes you might be dismissing as insignificant, because the 101st time is always closer than you think. This is the story of how a sacred promise led to a divine execution and what it means for the chances you are being given right now. Shishupala was a man born into a life of privilege and destiny. He was the king of the Chedi kingdom, a cousin to Lord Krishna himself. But his birth was marked by a dark prophecy. He was born with 3 eyes and 4 arms, a monstrous form that terrified his parents. A celestial voice echoed in the palace that day, declaring that the child would shed his extra limbs and die at the hands of a specific person. When the infant Shishupala was passed around, nothing happened. But the moment he was placed in the lap of his visiting cousin Krishna, the extra eye vanished and the extra arms dissolved into his body. The prophecy was sealed. His mother, Krishna's aunt, was overcome with terror. She begged Krishna to save her son. Moved by her love, Krishna made a sacred vow. He would pardon Shishupala. He would forgive him not once, not 10 times, but 100 times. For 100 offenses, no matter how grave, Shishupala would be immune from Krishna's wrath. It was a promise of almost limitless grace. But this divine pardon, meant to be a shield, became a license for arrogance. Knowing he was protected, Shishupala grew up consumed by a venomous hatred for Krishna, a hatred that would curdle into a pattern of relentless insult and aggression. The atmosphere in the grand hall of Indraprastha was thick with the scent of sacred incense and the low hum of devotional chants. This was the Rajasuya sacrifice, a monumental ceremony hosted by the righteous king Yudhishthira to declare himself emperor. Kings, sages, and warriors from across the known world had gathered. It was meant to be a moment of unity, piety, and cosmic order. The ceremony reached its most crucial point, the offering of the Arghya, the first honor, to the most venerable guest. The wise elder Bhishma, respected by all, rose to speak. His voice, though old, resonated with unshakable authority. He declared that the first honor could belong to no one but Krishna, the Supreme Lord who walked among them as a friend and guide. A wave of agreement and reverence swept through the assembly. But from one corner, a discordant voice ripped through the sacred harmony. It was Shishupala. His face was a mask of pure rage. He felt that Krishna's promise had made him untouchable, and in this public forum, he saw his chance to humiliate his lifelong rival. The promise that was meant to save him had instead blinded him. What if the very grace you rely on is enabling a pattern that will lead to your own downfall? The torrent of abuse that poured from Shishupala's mouth was shocking. He stood before the assembly of the world's greatest leaders and sages and unleashed a lifetime of poison. He insulted Krishna's lineage, calling him a mere cowherd, unfit to be worshipped among kings. He mocked his character, bringing up stories twisted with malice. He questioned his very divinity, laughing at the idea that this man, his cousin, was the supreme being. With each word, he chipped away at the foundation of Dharma and respect that the ceremony was built upon. The kings and sages looked on, stunned into silence by the sheer audacity of the disrespect. Krishna, however, remained perfectly calm. His expression was serene, unmoved by the verbal assault. He was not listening to the insults. He was counting them. Each venomous phrase was a number, a tally against the sacred promise he had made so long ago. 95, 96, 97. Shishupala, emboldened by Krishna's silence, grew even more manic in his tirade. He was in a frenzy of hatred, completely unaware that he was walking himself to the edge of a cliff. He hurled his final, most vile insults. He had now exhausted his 100 chances. He had used up every drop of grace that his mother's love had earned for him. He made his 101st mistake. And then, everything changed. Krishna slowly rose from his seat. The gentle, pastoral smile was gone, replaced by an expression of cosmic finality. He raised a single finger, and a hush fell over the entire universe. "I have heard enough," he said, his voice calm, yet carrying the weight of absolute law. "The promise I made to his mother has been fulfilled." He invoked his ultimate weapon, the Sudarshana chakra. It appeared in his hand, a spinning disk of light brighter than 1,000 suns, humming with the energy of creation and destruction. The sound was not of this world. It was the sound of karma being delivered. With a flick of his wrist, he sent it flying. The chakra sliced through the air, and in an instant, it severed Shishupala's head from his body. There was no battle, no struggle, just the perfect, swift, and undeniable execution of a cosmic law. The assembly watched in stunned silence as the king's body fell to the ground. But then, something miraculous happened. From the fallen body of Shishupala, a brilliant, pure light emerged. This light, the king's eternal soul, drifted across the hall and, in a moment of sublime beauty, merged into the body of Lord Krishna. The ultimate act of judgment was also the ultimate act of liberation. Shishupala, who had spent his entire life hating Krishna, had also spent his entire life thinking of Krishna. His every waking moment, every thought, every emotion was obsessively focused on the divine. Though his meditation was one of hatred, its intensity forged a connection so powerful that upon death, his soul had nowhere else to go but to the object of its absolute focus. He was freed from the cycle of birth and death, not in spite of his hatred, but because of its unwavering intensity. The story leaves us with a profound and unsettling truth. The universe gives us countless chances. We are forgiven for our mistakes, our harsh words, our moments of disrespect time and time again. But these chances are not an excuse to cultivate a pattern of negativity. They are opportunities to correct our course. The small, repeated transgressions matter. The casual insult, the consistent negativity, the habitual disrespect, these are the offenses the universe is counting. Shishupala's story is an urgent message to examine your own patterns. Where in your life are you making the same mistake, thinking there will be no consequences? The divine is patient, but its laws are exact. The 101st mistake is the one born from arrogance, the one where we believe grace is a license to do harm. It is the moment we forget that every action is recorded and every debt must eventually be paid. Your life is your own grand ceremony. Choose who you will honor. If you find lessons like this essential for your spiritual path, consider following for more wisdom that can guide your journey.